Astros to get your first World Series victory, Justin Verlander, and then you're going to just opt out of your contract and leave like that without saying goodbye? How dare you? Guys, he was never going to play for $25 million. And what the reports are that he's asking for, the Astros are not going to pay that much for a 39, soon to be 40-year-old pitcher. And two Astros won the Silver Slugger, and the Astros' biggest need is at first base. And we'll talk about this and more on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Astros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. And what I want to say real quick, Eric, before we get started is Happy Veterans Day this Friday to everyone serving in the military, whether you're abroad, whether you're at home. Thank you so much for your service and for what you do every day in uniform for us. Thank you.
Yes, my brother is currently serving in the Marine Corps. He's up in North Carolina. I got a chance to visit him on base a couple years ago. That was a good experience. And I went into a military haircut place, and I got yelled at many times, sit down. And it was just a kind of weird place to be at. But yeah, props out to everybody that's kept the country safe, and happy Veterans Day coming up. So let's go ahead and thank today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. And thank you for starting your day with the Locked On Astros podcast. Whether it's on YouTube, make sure you keep on subscribing. We're getting really close to that 6,000 mark. We're trying to get to 10,000 now. And go ahead and make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes, and go ahead and give us a good review. That's always good. And then on the don't forget to make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you're listening to your podcast. Check out the Locked On Astros podcast, even on the day when Justin Verlander says, yo, peace, I'm out. And
yeah, exactly.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, I don't know that anyone in their right baseball mind would think that Justin Verlander would sign for 25. I don't even know that Crane would offer him exactly what he's looking for. But, look, Crane probably says, right now, we're going to offer you so much if that's what he did, and you go test the market, and then you just compare where you want to go. I mean, if you want to go somewhere and be second place and not win a back-to-back title, go there for a couple more $1 million. I mean, what's $2 or $3 million when you have a chance to cement your legacy with the back-to-back World Series title, where you could possibly come back and fight for another Cy Young Award? I mean, what other team would you want to go to? And so later on, we're going to address the first base issue, because there are some negative implications if we do sign Anthony Rizzo, which has changed my mind on the Rizzo front. We'll talk about that later. But Justin Verlander deserves to test the market. I mean, look, he's at the age he's at. He pitched like he was 2019 Verlander. He pitched like he was 2011 Verlander. And anybody in their right mind would do what he's doing. Now, he's not going to get Max Scherzer money. He's not going to get $45 million because of his age, because coming off of Tommy John. But he will get, I think, between 33 and 36 million a year. I think that's going to be the asking price. And to me, it makes sense for him to stay with the Astros because he's cemented his legacy. He's got his place in the clubhouse. He commands a presence and respect. Jose Altuve even said, while signing autographs at Academy, that he's hopeful that Justin Verlander will come back. But let me harken back to the Carlos Correa signing days, where Jose Altuve also said, I think Carlos Correa is going to be coming back. So players don't know what's going to happen. Justin Verlander is not huddling up the guys and saying, hey, guys, this is what I'm going to do. He's making the decision with his family, and he's going to do what's best for him in his career. And if he doesn't see that in an Astros uniform, Thank you for your service, Justin. It was amazing while we had you. But when you switch uniforms, we're definitely not rooting for you to have success against us.
I mean, if you look at what we talked about yesterday it was 36 million for 2 years for 72 million overall. That's something that I don't know if that's even in the Astros realm, because they have about 70 something million in their wiggle room to sign. And if you do that, that's going to be half of your budget. Then what are you going to do with first base? What are you going to do with other options? You need not just a first baseman, you need somebody to be on the bench, so we don't have to have somebody like Aledmys Diaz or something like that. So there are several different situations that you're going to have to discuss. There's a dog apparently outside, but just imagine this rotation: Lance McCullers, Framber Valdez, Christian Javier. The dog is messing me up. Jose Urquidy, Luis Garcia, and Hunter Brown.
Oh, I mean, look,
pretty good rotation.
And this is the insanity that is the Houston Astros. This is how dominating the Houston Astros are in the Major League Baseball world, Eric, is we are literally okay if Justin Verlander walks. And in a world where Justin Verlander is about to win his third Cy Young, Eric, it is amazing to me that we are in this position, that we have a treasure trove of wealth in the pitching department. It is something that I think is a luxury that not many teams have had or ever will have in the future. This is really the golden era of baseball. And I don't say that because I don't think Justin Verlander can't help, because if Justin Verlander's with the team, obviously that puts you in the forefront of every conversation going back to the World Series and taking it back. But even if he's not a part of this, you have Hunter Brown, who was in some key situations at the end of the season. The kid's got the confidence of a veteran major leaguer. Christian Javier was clearly sneakily one of the best pitchers in the league and got no recognition because of his innings pitched, right? Framber Valdez should have been in the top 3 for the Cy Young and is not. And actually next year, he's going to be my pick for Cy Young winner. My way too early prediction, 2023, Framber Valdez wins the Cy Young next year. And you've got Jose Urquidy, who didn't really get to work his magic in the postseason. And then Luis Garcia. I mean, this dude is nails during the season. Heck, throw him in an 18-inning playoff game, and what does he do? He throws a no-hitter. The dude, or a one-hitter in. So I love this. If you would have told me, Eric, when this playoff run started in 2015, that we're going to have Justin Verlander on our team, win a World Series, and he walks, and we're still the odds-on favorite for the World Series, I'd be like, there's no way. There's no way, because without Justin Verlander, you're not a contender. Wrong. Absolutely 100% a contender with or without Justin Verlander. He does make us better. We might lose a little bit, but there's still enough weapons to throw at the opponent. We're good.
All right. So lame duck GM, I guess we could call him that right now. But this is what he had to say on Justin Verlander. In August and September last year, we had 7 starting pitchers. It was on full display in the playoffs, just how deep that pitching staff was. That said, Justin Verlander has a spot on any pitching staff. If we're lucky enough to have him back, it may force our hand in terms of adjusting the roster in other ways. In other words, if you rob, what's the phrase? If you rob Peter, you got to pay Paul, or
right,
whatever
exactly.
that
Yes.
is. So if you go ahead and pay Justin Verlander 40, if he wants to try to match Max Scherzer, which I don't think he should, at 43 million, if he wants to go for that 45 million that his the Sport Track is saying that his market value is, and he probably deserves it. But we got to remember that he is a pitcher who is about to be 40 years old. He is somebody that has struggled in the World Series. Yes, he did grit his way through that game 5 of the World Series and got the victory finally. And so he's going to use that and say, look, if you sign me, I can get you a win in a World Series game. Finally, I can say that. But yeah, so it's just, I'm not saying that it's not going to be something that the Astros can afford, but I think there's a certain limit. If you're going above 36 may be a little bit too high. And so I wouldn't bet on that happening. And so let's talk about that.
So, so this episode is brought to you by betonline.net. It's your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer to esports, we've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find them at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. And hey, guess who's the favorite to win the World Series next year on betonline.net? It's not the Astros. It's actually the Dodgers. But hey, why not go with the Astros? Seems like a pretty good nod to me for the hopefully back-to-back world champs. But right now, to get all that information and to be educated on everything you need to know on these lines, head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet online, it's where the game starts.
Okay, I wanted to just show how good this pitching staff is. I wanted to put this up. This was from Baseball Reference, and somebody tweeted this out today. Farmer Valdez in the World Series had 18 strikeouts. Justin Verlander had 11. Brian Abreu out of the freaking bullpen had 9 strikeouts. Christian Javier had 9 strikeouts. Lance McCullers, yes, it wasn't the best start, but he had 5 strikeouts. Ryan Presley had 5 strikeouts. Jose Urquidy had 4 strikeouts. Rafael Montero had 4. Hector Neris had 4. And then if you look in that very little slice, you see Ryan Stanek with 2.
Yes, Ryan Stanek with 2. So if y'all are listening, Eric just threw up a graphic. It's basically a pie chart. If you go to our Twitter feed, I'm sure we'll retweet it. But that is an outstanding number for Valdez. That's an outstanding number for those relief pitchers, Eric. And, Albert's asking, do we think that the Astros are going to bring back Montero? I absolutely think they're going to bring him back. Why wouldn't you? Now, look, if Justin Verlander seems like a foregone conclusion that he doesn't come back because it's too much money, that gives you plenty of room to sign Montero. Because remember, you got off the books Mancini and Will Smith. You actually saved $10 million. In that trade, you got rid of Odorizzi's contract. You brought on Smith. You bought him out. You basically saved $10 million. Now Odorizzi's with the Rangers. They're paying him like 12 or 13. So good for them. And no, I don't think he's going to throw a no-hitter against us. But watch Odorizzi perform pretty well. But it's just one of those things, Eric, that
Wait,
in our
I've got one little thing to add about that. Did you hear that the Braves actually paid $10 million of his contract?
Of whose contract?
Of Odorizzi.
Really?
So
Wow.
not
There you
only
go.
did they trade him, but they did not want him on the team so much that they paid the
They
Rangers
paid to get rid of him.
$10 million to get rid of him.
That
He's
reminds-
making $12 million this year.
Wow.
And the Braves basically paid. We don't want him. So for all the moves that James Click has done to get himself out of the Odorizzi contract by taking on Will Smith, because that's what it was. It was
Right.
basically a salary dump, because he knew that he could go ahead and dump Will Smith for $1 million, and Odorizzi would have been a little bit harder of a sell. So I think that this was a great deal for the Houston Astros. I know Will Smith didn't really do much. He was a better pitcher with the Astros, but
yeah,
I still can't imagine them paying.
He's going to get a ring. He's going to get a ring, but that's really it. I mean, look, he's got a 2021 World Series ring. Now he's got a 2022 World Series ring. So do we want to talk about the Silver Sluggers? Because I do want to make sure that I address this Anthony Rizzo thing.
Yes, and also DeGrom, there's some rumors that he wants to go to Texas.
Well, he's expressed interest in signing with Texas. Right. DeGrom, Odorizzi, the West is now the Rangers. Sorry.
And Martin Perez is a free agent.
So DeGrom and Scherzer, how did that work out for you in New York? Okay, Rangers, thank you very much for spending another $500 million to get third place. Good job. You'll be better than the Angels and the Oakland A's. They're not going to supplant the Mariners. And you know what, Eric? Carlos Correa may end up in Seattle. Dude, Carlos Correa, if he signs in Seattle, oh my gosh, that would be a huge signing for them. The Seattle Mariners are going to probably do better next year, and they're going to put up a fight like they did this year. I mean, we probably sweep them again. Sorry, we kind of made mincemeat of them in the playoffs. But I was tooting the horn and saying we should rally the troops and get Anthony Rizzo. But I didn't know this small detail. It's a small detail, but this was
Right.
this was posted by Michael Schwab. He said, if the Astros sign Rizzo, they will lose their second highest selection in the 2023 draft, as well $500,000 from their international bonus pool. And we know that the Astros didn't have a first and second round pick in the 2020 or 2021 season. So going another year without a second selection would be significant. And someone had mentioned in the chat here earlier, we need to work on building our prospects and our farm system. And we're going to be talking about that after we get out of this kind of pre-free agency mode. We're going to start looking at prospects and what guys we need to look at that will be making an impact. Guys like Pedro Leon, guys like Jimmy Endersby, Corey Jolks, will he ever get to the big league club, stuff like that. But so Anthony Rizzo, signing him seems like it would be a very bad thing for the Astros to do. So I don't see Rizzo coming to Houston. I didn't know that detail when I was saying, hey, I would like to have him as a player, as an Astro.
All right, so we'll do Silver Slugger in a second. So, but Click said on Wednesday that it's a priority position for us, first base. We need to have some conversations and we need to figure out our wish list there, and we'll execute it once we have an idea of which way we want to go. Gurriel officially became a free agent at 4 p.m. today, along with Justin Verlander. Of the two, I see Gurriel coming back. I mean, Gurriel's a great player, but he had a worse season that he's probably had in a while. And he said, I don't know what's going to happen in offseason. I want to say thank you, Houston Astros and the fans, for the best 7 years of my life, Gurriel said after Game 6. And his presence was felt in Game 6 of the World Series. Yes, they won. Yes, Mancini made that great play. And by the way, I didn't know that it didn't click in my head that Mancini hadn't played first base in 3 weeks. But Mancini was able to make that great play, but Mancini's not even on the roster. So, I mean, are you going to have, I know that Click brought up, who is it? He brought up David Hensley.
He brought up David Hensley, yeah.
And JJ Medjevic as possible options to play first base. You can also add Yainer Diaz to that situation, but he's majority.
Yeah,
he's mostly a catcher.
Yeah.
So David Hensley, like I said on yesterday's podcast, is Aledmys Diaz. He's the guy that you can play all over the field. So that's why you don't pigeonhole Hensley right there.
Right, exactly. I mean, he's going to be your utility guy. But, I mean, look, Yuli Gurriel just had the best postseason of his career. Eric, he had a better postseason than he had in 2017. His lines and what he did overall, average 311, on base percentage 364, career high. His slugging percentage was down. His OPS was down, but he still seemed to contribute on the field more. And he lit up the box score with all those hits. And I think without those hits, the Astros don't really get a whole lot. I mean, they obviously complete the task, but he was a big part of it. So Yuli Gurriel is a leader in the clubhouse. Yuli Gurriel is one of those guys that you want to have around if you can have him. I think you can have him in a reduced role in a platoon situation, if I'm being really honest. First base, DH. Don't forget, you want to give Alex Bregman a rest? He knows how to play third base. He converted from third to first, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's what they did with Vlad Guerrero Jr. up in Toronto. They moved him from third to first. Vlad Guerrero Jr.
Did you say Bregman played first?
No, I said Bregman. No, I said Yuli Gurriel used to play third.
Oh,
he converted to a first baseman.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Bregman has been the third baseman since he got up here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so, so Bregman, if he wants to rest, you can put Yuli at third. And Yuli has played third a few times. But Yuli Gurriel, if you get him on a reduced salary, if you get him on a reduced contract, bring him back. If not, talk him into staying, give him a player services contract, and we will be good. This ball club's not going to go out and get a big free agent. This ball club's not going to go out and spend money on the free agent market. They're going to hold close to the vest because they've got plenty of players that they're paying under the radar, under the league minimum, because they're in the rookie deals. They're in a very, very nice time. That's why I'm saying this championship window is open through 2027, Eric. I mean, this team is built to win, not just now, but 2 years from now. 3 years from now, even 5 years from now. That's how we're built, because these guys aren't going to be walking. And Tucker is not going to get signed this early. Pena is not going to get signed this early. Pena is even deeper in his rookie contract than Tucker is. Tucker's not really available. He's ARB1 this year, and it's like $5.5 million. So we can stop with the talk of trying to get him signed early. It's too early. They're not going to sign him. And Click's probably going to come back on a 1-year deal. And I think Click's going to come back on a 1-year deal simply because they don't want to upset the apple cart too much. There's nobody else out there to get right now. I mean, everybody's taking every executive position. But, Brian Cashman is also operating in the same position. And this isn't uncommon for GMs to operate in the mode they're operating in without a contract. This actually happens quite a bit in Major League Baseball. One of the things, talking about Click, Eric, that I just want to mention real quick, and then we can move on to Silver Slugger, is Dusty Baker was very adamant about two things, and the front office disagreed with him. He was very adamant about Jeremy Pena batting second and Maldonado catching the top three pitchers. Ryan Anderson recently said on the Starkville podcast, said that Dusty Baker was willing to die on those two hills. And that's probably one of the reasons why Dusty Baker came back, is because he held his ground, and it was the right move. Pena in the 2-hole ended up working out very, very nicely.
All right. So going back to first base, the question, this is what Click had to say. The question becomes, do you fight? Do you want to fight into that top tier? Do you want to balance the offense and the defense? Is a run saved the same as a run scored? We have to factor all that in. But first base defense is something that we've prioritized in this organization for a long time. And I don't envision us changing that. So the problem is, you can't find somebody, like, you're not going to go out and get a Wilson Contreras and say, hey, go learn how to play first base. You're not going to put Alvarez out there and say, hey, go learn how to play first base. They want somebody who can actually play first base. And that's why people like Anthony Rizzo and Josh Bell make sense. Rizzo is a left-handed hitter. Bell is a switch hitter. And then a lot of people have said Jose Abreu. Jose Abreu is not great defensively at this stage in his career. He made 11 errors last year. He's not the best. He's not the most agile first baseman. Does that mean I wouldn't take him? No, I think he would fit perfectly on this team, especially if Yuli is off this team. I think he would fit perfectly on here. But maybe a Yuli and Abreu combination at DH and first base would be something the Astros could look at. But I think that the Astros would absolutely go after Rizzo. He's a low strikeout hitter. You would have to give up the draft pick. You would have to give up the international money. I know that's something. Stop shaking your head. That is something that they. Can you let me talk? This is something that they've prioritized in the past. But this, what if Click is gone, and Crane is ruling the roost? And Crane says, you know what? I don't care about draft pick. I don't care about international draft pick. I want Rizzo.
But how could, but Eric, I'll have to disagree with you like 100%.
Okay.
This is not, no, you had 2 years in a row where you lost your first two picks. You're not going to lose your second highest pick and $500,000 international signing money to get Rizzo, who's a .234 hitter last year. Yeah, he hit 35 home runs. But, I mean, you can go out and get so many other people that you don't have to pay that cost. And
Right.
I think Crane puts the right people in the right places, and they would talk sense into him. I don't see why Crane would do that. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, literally, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. Rizzo is not going to be a Houston Astro. They're not going to lose another top pick. They're not going to lose five, because that pool money, they signed 4 pitchers to $140,000. That $500,000 could net you 3 or 4 or 5 players that are in their developmental system. I'm just saying, I don't see that happening. If that happens, then Jim Crane has gone full Jerry Jones and he's micromanaging, and the Astros go down the tubes. I don't see that happening. I think Jim Crane is a smarter baseball guy than to do that. I think that would be 100% foolish move.
Yeah, and so it's up to Jim Crane. This is his team. Like he said, he's gonna do whatever it takes. And Ken Rosenthal was actually ripping him a new one in an article saying that he's bad. He's what he's doing is bad, a bad look for the Astros organization. I really don't want to go back into it. How he's treating James Click. But I do want to go into Silver Sluggers. The Silver Sluggers is something that's awarded to the best hitting a player at each position. And no, the Astros didn't get one for first base, unfortunately, but the Astros did get one at second base, and they also got one at DH. And you want to go and say who they are?
You're talking about Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez.
Right.
And Jose Altuve, it's his sixth, which I typed fifth on TikTok. I said his fifth career. It's his sixth career.
Right.
I lose count because Jose Altuve has won so many. And of course, Yordan Alvarez would win Silver Slugger. I mean, this guy, I mean, outside of that slump, we're talking Yordan Alvarez MVP. Outside of that slump, we're talking Yordan Alvarez Hank Aaron Award winner. I mean, that this guy is literally the best hitter on the planet. I just think, bar none, there's nobody that strikes more fear in the opposing pitcher's hearts. And Jose Altuve hit his goal of 900 OPS, had 920 OPS in the season, hit for 300 again. And yeah, he kind of disappeared in the playoffs. But you know what? We didn't need it because this team is simply that good. And this is a regular season award, and they both deserve it very much so.
Yeah, I know that Alvarez was in top 3 for MVP. He's not going to get it. The other two
No.
are way more qualified. If Alvarez wouldn't have hit that kind of that slump, I think he would have probably got it. But definitely something that a lot of people are asking on Twitter and on TikTok today is why couldn't the Astros just go ahead and offer Verlander a qualifying offer? You can't do that. You can only offer that once in the player's career. And I do want to, while we're on this list of qualifying offers, here's the players that were offered qualifying offers today: Aaron Judge, Trey Turner, Xander Bogaerts, Jacob DeGrom, Dansby Swanson, Carlos Rodon, Brandon Nemo, Wilson Contreras, Chris Bassett, Anthony Rizzo, Tyler Anderson, Mr. Anderson, Martin Perez, Jock Peterson. How the heck is Jock Peterson on this list? And Nathan Eovaldi.
Hey, Jock Peterson, you look at the 3 of his last 5 years, Eric. Jock Peterson is a hell of a baseball player. Jock Peterson, he was one of the catalysts in the Braves' run in that World Series win against us. He literally, and I can't remember all the stats they were quoting earlier, but I was watching MLB Network, and they were talking about how Jock Peterson has really flown under the radar, how good he's been more times than not. And whoever gets a Jock Peterson is getting a player that's dedicated. He's flashy. He's got charisma.
Right.
He's the guy that you love to hate on the other team, but he's going to land somewhere and he's going to make a difference on somebody's ball club.
Yeah, and I didn't mean like him like not qualified for it. I mean him like not getting a qualified offer offered to him before. Like he's been
yeah.
He's
Well,
basically
because he's been everywhere. Because
Yeah.
he's kind of been a journeyman, right? But everywhere he's gone, he's contributed, and good for him. He was the guy that annoyed me with the whole money thing. He's trying to be like Johnny Manziel when he was with the Dodgers in 2017 World Series when we kicked their tail. Recently I was on the Pesky Report podcast, and they asked me, they're like, who do you hate more, the Dodgers or the Yankees? And I basically said, I don't really hate teams that we don't have a hard time beating in the playoffs. It's hard to hate these two teams because pretty much we play them in the playoffs and we beat them. But Jock Peterson, wherever he goes, he's going to be a thorn in the opponent's side. He may strike out a lot, but he's going to come up with some big hits this next season.
All right, so looking at the all MLB team, I know you already voted. I need to vote, but of course, no first baseman made it from the Astros. Jose Altuve made it. Then you had Jeremy Pena made it. Alex Bregman, well, not made it, but they're the people that you can vote for. They're eligible. Catcher, no catcher made it. Alvarez made it, of course, as DH. And then outfield, you had who was it? It was, of course, Tucker. And is that it? Yeah, I guess
that was it. So, yeah. So basically you had Kyle Tucker, then you had starting pitchers. you had Framber, Javier, and Verlander, and then you had Ryan Presley. And the reason why I know that is because I voted for every Astro on the All MLB team. But there's reason I voted for every Astro, not just being a homer, Eric. I thought that Alex Bregman had a very good season. I thought that Jeremy Pena should be in the top 3 for Rookie of the Year. Jose Altuve had a great season. Christian Javier, people are saying he's going to be next year's Cy Young, and we'll have to like bet a Coke and some wings on that. Framber Valdez, and then our guy Justin Verlander and Ryan Presley. And I was trying to get the algorithm going on Twitter. I was like, there are several Astros and former Astros on this list, and someone goes, "Who's the former Astro?" I'm like, "Well, technically, Justin Verlander is a former Astro." And they're like, "Well, no, wait, he's not former until he signs somewhere else." I said, but it's all about the algorithm. It's all about reaching out and getting a broader audience. But I like the list, and you know who I selected, Eric? Kenley Jansen. Kenley Jansen had a season, man. That dude, 41, get this, 41 saves, 5-2 record, 338, 85 strikeouts, and 65 appearances. Wow, like Kenley Jansen, like the head case guy from the Dodgers that would go in and like tank games and lose leads for them and get beat by the Astros and whoever else they played. And man, he went to the Braves and he had a solid year. So good for him. He deserves it. He's been through a lot mentally. And that dude's tough as nails now. So I liked my all MLB list, but y'all may disagree with me. Y'all may have some different selections.
Yeah, Jeremy Pena is going to be pretty busy this week. Of course, he was ALCS MVP, World Series MVP. He'll be in New York City Friday for a Gold Glove function and be doing a lot of media. And then also he'll be on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon on NBC. So that's got to be an awesome experience. And there's a rumor going around that the Astros will be on Saturday Night Live at some point as well. So that would be good to just get the Astros faces out there. I remember when George Springer and Carlos Correa and all the Astros did it back then. That was a fun experience. So if they get a chance to get back on Saturday Night Live, that would be a great experience. So before we go, I do want to show my little awesome hoodie I got. It was too hot in my apartment to put it on, but
there you go.
I don't know why I get hoodies. I'm always too hot to wear the hoodies, but eventually it gets cold in Houston, right?
Well, I got one. I got the one with the gold World Series, with the trophy, and then I got my flat bill World Series hat coming. Also, I do have to say this. My guy Joe designed another fine hat. This is the Veterans Day edition hat from put out by Big City Caps, and Joe at Explicit Ink on Instagram. Check him out. He got me this hat. That's my boy. Got the camo underneath, celebrating Veterans Day, and it's called the Full Metal Jacket. He took the Full Metal Jacket poster from the movie and designed all the coloring to fit that helmet on there. So thank you for that. Again, happy Veterans Day. And Eric, I love that World Series hat. You got the World Series swag going there. And we didn't intentionally wear the same gray shirt tonight, but you know what? We're a team, and that's how we roll.
Yeah, Kyle Tucker said it was good to have Dusty Baker back. I love the guy. He's a great person and great manager. And he said it was actually pretty cool to see people lining up to get his autograph. They've come to see him on the field all year. Now they come to get to see him and get an autograph. So he said it's a pretty cool experience to get to meet the fans and everything. And
so you're telling me you didn't wait 36 hours outside of an academy to get their autograph?
No.
I had a student whose grandmother, get this, her grandmother, she came up to me and she showed me this wristband yesterday at school. She goes, "Look, I got this wristband." I go, "What's that for?" "We're going to get Yordan's autograph." I was like, "How'd you get that?" Well, she goes, "My tio," which means, she goes, she went to academy at 4:00 the day before, and she's been there all night. And I'm like, "You made your grandmother sleep outside of a Dick's Sporting Goods to get Yordan's autograph to those Dick's Sporting Goods?" She goes, "Yeah." And so, I mean, people did it. The lady that went to Altuve, did you see the news story? The lady that was the first in line, she was declared cancer free.
Mm-hmm.
And she, instead of ringing the bell, she ran to the academy. She was the first in line. She got to give Jose Altuve a hug, and someone brought a bell for her to ring. So that's what they do when they celebrate that someone's cancer free. So Altuve was making people's day. Tucker, Bregman, Yordan. I mean, it's just really cool to see them out there, because that's when you get to see them as regular people. And the players, they love it. They're humbled by it. Bregman's like, "I'm on cloud nine." I love it because Bregman's acting like he's never won one before. And that means the world to me, to see the humility from these guys.
Yeah. So I think that after seeing what happened at first base all year, having go out and get Trey Mancini, that didn't work out. I think the Astros are going to do what it takes to get a first baseman this year, at whatever cost. And I think if the best one out there is Anthony Rizzo, if you're not going to go get Justin Verlander, go get Anthony Rizzo. That's just all I'm saying. So that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, and that's all we got now. You can find Brett at H-Town Wheelhouse, and we'll be back next week, hopefully talking about whatever free agent news is going on. And let's go Stros and win the World Series again in 2023.